and welcome to Eureka Math. This is Module 2, Lesson 10, and our objective today is to multiply decimal fractions with tenths by multi-digit whole numbers using place value understanding to record partial products. Okay, let me break that down for you. First of all, what is a decimal fraction? Let's use something like 2.4, okay? You know that 2.4 equals 2 ones and 4 tenths, or we could call that 24 tenths, okay? So what I've just done is I've changed this decimal to word form. But I can also, 24 tenths, I could write that as a fraction, right? 24 tenths, okay? And you know that 24 over 10, right, 24 tenths, is the same as saying 24 divided by 10, okay, because fractions are division, okay? Now 24 divided by 10 equals 2.4, okay? So decimal fractions, right? There's our decimal, there's our word form, there's our fraction form, back to division, back to decimal again, okay? So that's why they're calling them tenths and multi-digit whole numbers. So we're using multi-digit whole numbers using place value understanding. So you need to know the place value, and that's where those tenths come in. So multiplying, so let's say we're going to multiply 2.4. Let's multiply it by 6, okay? Well, multiplying by decimals is sometimes a little tricky, okay? But let's break it down. Instead of saying 2 and 4 tenths times 6, let's say 24 tenths times 6. This looks a little bit easier, doesn't it? So 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Now I have 144, but I have to bring down that word form, okay? So now, 144 tenths, well, that's the same as saying 144 tenths, right? Which is the same as 144 divided by 10, okay? And you know that when we use division, we just move that decimal over one place. So 14 and 4 tenths, okay? See how we found that answer? Okay, being able to transfer things from decimals to word form to fractions back to decimals, that's going to help us use multiplication and know what we're doing. Okay, so that's basically what our objective is today. We're going to practice. So let's go to the problem set, lesson 10 problem set, name on your paper. And first we're going to do a little estimation, okay? So we're going to estimate the product. Product, of course, is the answer after you multiply two numbers. Solve using an area model. So we're going to create an area model as well. All right, so we're going to estimate here. That's why that squiggly line is there. Then use an area model. And then our standard algorithm, which is 24 times 22. And they've already put that tenths in there for us, so we just have to remember to put the tenths in the answer. So let's go on. Okay. Number one, I want to estimate so I can get the best guess I can. So I'm going to round this down from 22, I'm going to round it down to 20 ones or 2 tens, right? Times, and this I'm going to round down to 2 ones. And that estimate would give me 40, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing up here, but now I'm going to actually solve. And I'm going to call this, let's see, I want to make sure I'm doing it how they did it in the book. So let me just skip ahead to see how they did that. Okay, so 20 and 4 tenths, that's what they're calling that. So 24 tenths. So they're going to turn this, right, this 2.4, they're going to call that 24 tenths. Okay, so we're going to call this 20 tenths and 4 tenths. So they just changed that. decimal into tenths. And then here I can just multiply by, did they have the 20 on top or the 2? They had the 2 on top. 2 plus 22, okay? All right, so 20 times 2 is 40, and 2 times 4 is 8, and that gives me 48 tenths. Okay. Next, oh, I'm sorry, this is 20, isn't it? 20 times 20 is 400, and 4 times 20 is 80, and that gives me 480 tenths. Okay. And I just want to make sure that I'm doing what they're doing. Yes, okay. And then I'm going to add those together, and I'll get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 528 tenths. All right, so now I've estimated my product at 40, but I got 528 tenths. Okay, so let's just keep going. Those don't look at all the same, do they? But I think you're going to be surprised. 24 tenths, so let's multiply with our standard algorithm. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 2 is 4, drop the 0. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 2 is 4, then add 8, 12, 528, and remember this is tenths. Okay. So now I've shown my area model and my standard algorithm, and I got the same thing for both answers, but it's telling me to express my product in standard form, and here this is still in word form. So what was I saying? 500, I'm going to change colors just so you can see what I'm doing. 528 tenths is the same as saying 528 over 10 because tenths, right? Which means that that's the same as saying 528 divided by 10, which in standard form would be 52 and 8 tenths. Okay? All right. You can probably get there a lot faster than this step, right? But I want to show you what I'm doing. So there we've got our estimate, which was 40. So 52.8 or 52 and 8 tenths is much, much closer to 40 than we thought. We've got the area model. There's our standard algorithm, and then here we showed our standard form. So follow directions, remember all of the parts. Let's do the next one. Your homework looks just like this, so I want you to pay attention. Okay. You know what they did here? They forgot to put in the estimate number, the estimate symbol. Hopefully your book has the estimate symbol. Okay, 3 and 1/10, so we're going to call that 3. And 33, we're just going to call that 30. That equals 90. Okay, so our estimate is 90. Next, my standard algorithm, my area model. I'm going to call this up here tenths, so 31 tenths, so 31 equals 31 tenths, right? So 30 plus 1, and those are tenths. And over here, I've got 33, so 3 and 30. And 3 times 30 is 90, and 3 times 1 is 3, which gives me 93 tenths. Next, 30 times 30 is 900, and 30 times 1 is 30, which gives me 930 tenths. Then I add those, and I get 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, carry the 1 is 1,023 tenths. Okay. I'm going to check it with my standard form. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Drop 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 3, 2, carry the 1, 10 tenths. Okay. I'm going to put my decimal back in. Remember, I started with a decimal and I changed it to tenths. Right? So this is tenths now. I'm going to show you those steps again. 1,023 tenths equals 1,023 divided by 10, which equals 102 3/10. There's my final answer in standard form. Now, my estimate was 90, and my final product was 102 3/10. So, pretty close, okay? Next one. Estimate, then use the standard algorithm to solve. So we're going to skip the area problem here, what is that called? Area model, okay? And then we're going to express our products in standard form. So 3 2/10, I'm going to estimate that to be 3. 47 ones, I'm going to round up to 5 tens or 50, and that's going to give me an estimate of 150. Now I'm going to turn that 3 2/10 into 32 tenths. Okay, for my standard algorithm. 7 times 2 is 14, carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 is 22, drop the 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, and 4, 5, 1 tenths. Okay, so 1,504 tenths. Again, I'm going to change this back into a fraction, right, which equals 1,504 divided by 10, which equals 154 tenths. There's my final answer. And that's pretty close, isn't it? Very close, in fact. We did a good job. Okay, so I estimated, right? Then I used the standard algorithm. Yep. Then I put my product in standard form at the bottom. Yep. Okay, follow all of those steps. Read directions. I don't know why I have to keep repeating that to you all the time. Read directions. Okay, 3 2/10. I'm going to estimate that to 3. And 94 ones, I'm just going to call that 90. I'm going to estimate, I'm going to round down. And 3 times 90 is, what is that? 270, right? 3 times 2 is 27 plus that 0 on the end. Okay, and then what they did to do the standard algorithm, they changed 3.2 to 32 tenths. Okay, and this is 47 and this is 94. That's almost twice as much, so we'll see if our answer is also twice as much. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. Drop a 0. 9 times 2 is 18. Carry the 1. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 1 is 28. 8. 10. Carry the 1. 10. Carry the 1. 3. And that's tenths, right? Because we changed it to tenths. Now I'm going to have to change it back. Which equals 308 tenths. What did I say? I said that 94 and that 47, they look like half of each other. They were both multiplying times 3 times and 2 tenths. So 150 to 150 and then 270 to 300. This makes more sense to me. All right, good job. Now, did we do everything? We estimated, right? Then we moved it into a standard algorithm, but with tenths. We found the answer with tenths. And then we changed it back into standard form. Next, and we are doing the same thing for all of these next ones, okay? So let's keep going. 6 is going to round down, 6 3/10 is going to run down to 6. 44 is going to run down to 40. 6 times 4 is 24 with a 0 on the end. Now, they're not showing you the standard algorithm, so you have to do that yourself. 6 3/10 is the same as saying 63 tenths. right? So 63 tenths times 44, right? 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Drop the 0. 4 times 3 is 12, carry the 1. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And now I've got 2, 7, 7, 2 tenths. But I need to turn that into standard form. So 2772 over 10 is the same as 277 and 2 tenths. There's my standard form right there. And my estimate was 240. Okay, not too bad, not too far off. Next one, 14 and 6 tenths. I'm going to round that up to 15. And 17, I'm going to round that up to 20. 15 times 2 is 30, plus another 0 on the end. And now I'm going to change 4 and 6 tenths to 146 tenths. Okay. And then I'm going to multiply that by 17. And 17 times 6 is 42. Carry the 4. 7 times 4 is 28. 9, 10. Wait a minute. 14, 28, 29, 33, 132. Carry 3. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And then a drop of 0. And 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 times 1 is 1. Then add 2, 8, 4, 2 tenths. And that, in standard form, is, I'm starting to drop a few steps because I think you're seeing it over and over and over again now, is 248 and 2 tenths. Okay. Next one, 8 and 2 tenths. I'm going to round that down to 8. 34 ones, I'm going to round down to 30, or 3 tens, and that's going to give me an estimate of 240. And this 8.2, I'm going to change that to 82 tenths times 34, and that's 8. So 1632, 0, 6, 24, and 8, 8, 7, 2 tenths. Okay, which equals 278 and 8 tenths. Okay, you are definitely getting this, I'm hoping. I hope. If you're struggling with this, let me know. 160 and 4 tenths, I'm going to estimate that down to, or round it down to 160. And 17, I'm going to round up to 20. And that's going to give me 16 times 2, which would be 32 and 2 zeros, so 3,200. And I'm going to turn this, right, this 116 4 tenths, I'm going to turn that into 164 tenths times 17. 7 times 4 is 28, carry the 2. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 7 times 6 is 42, carry the 4. 7 times 1 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then the 0, 4, 0, 6, 1, 8, 6, 2, 7, 2 tenths. Okay, which equals 2,726 and 8 tenths. Michelle multiplied 3 and 4 tenths times 52. She incorrectly wrote 1,768 as her product. Use words, numbers, and or pictures to explain Michelle's mistake. Well, let's solve it ourselves first. Let's turn that 3.4, let's turn that into 34 tenths. And then we're going to multiply that by 52. And 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 3 is 6, drop 0, 5 times 4 is 20, 2 is 15, 16, 17, 8, 6, 7, 1. Well, there's the number, but this is tenths, right? So she forgot to put that decimal back in. She forgot to move it back into standard form. So what she should have done is taken that 1,768 and divided it by 10, right, tenths, and gotten 1768. Okay? And you can use that, explain with words, numbers, pictures. All right? She forgot to, well, divide by 10. You could say divide by 10. Or she forgot to convert to standard form. All right. Two different ways of saying the same thing. Number 4, a wire is bent to form a square with a perimeter of 16 4/10. Okay, so here is the wire, and it was bent all the way around to make a perimeter of 16 4/10 of a centimeter. How much wire would be needed to form 24 squares just like it? Well, if we want to create 24 squares just like that, that is a multiplication problem, right? So we're going to multiply 16.4 centimeters. We're going to change that to 164 tenths. Okay. It's still centimeters, but we're going to add that on the end. Okay. And then we're going to multiply that by 25. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2 is 32, carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. Then drop the 0. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 6 is 12, carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And 0, 10, 11, 4. Okay, so now we have 4,100 tenths. Okay, of centimeters, but we want to convert that back into standard form, so we're going to change that to 4100 over 10, which equals 410 centimeters. Nice. If you wanted to call it 410.0, you could too. You don't need to. All right. And the rest is just homework. Whew, that's a long lesson, but a good one because we are now multiplying with decimals. Great job, everyone.